So I guess we already know who is using a smartphone. It's pretty much all of us. Thank you for that introduction also. My name is Amani Channel, and it's my biological name. I've worked in TV for most of my professional career, so it's by coincidence or by inspiration, I don't really know. My brother works in TV as well. My dad's Charlie Channel, so it's just in my DNA. So we're talking about mobile journalism must-haves. This is a presentation that I gave over the summer at a journalism conference. And so, although I'm talking a little bit about how journalists can use smartphones for video production, it can apply for pretty much any kind of video that you'd like to create. So how many of you guys use video in your communications or want to? All right, so let's just kind of, I know we're kind of a small group. Can we just start and kind of go around the room and just, what are you interested in learning about or how to use video? Whoever, you raise your hand.
Mobile. Just mobile tools.
Okay.
How to do it on an inexpensive.
Excellent.
So I can share it with my pastors.
Okay, cool.
More people on board.
Who else?
Because everybody has one.
Yes, indeed.
I'm just always willing to learn something new.
Excellent. Okay, more than 2 people raise their hand.
I'm interested not so much for my work, but I would like to find out what's involved in live streaming. Because I've often, as a parent of very young children, wished that I could just watch it on the internet and not have to wait until they post-produce it and put it up 2 weeks later. I want to watch it now.
Yeah, there's some apps actually that will allow you to pretty much shoot and upload instantly, or else you can live stream, and I'll talk about some of those apps. So excellent, I think you'll get a lot out of it.
We're both in the Pacific Union. As we get more into electronic news, weekly news, and so on, we need more times when we can just have a 1-minute statement or even a 30-second statement from our CEO saying, here's what we've done, or we're planning to do, making a comment on something. But so far, neither of us produce video or have the equipment or have wanted to get into that whole realm. If there's an easy and quick way that you can do it, it won't cost a lot of money. It would be something we use a lot.
Excellent. So I think the smartphones for that application, for quick little 1 minute, 1.5 minute videos would be excellent application for the devices. Anyone else?
Exactly what I want to do.
Okay. Excellent. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a little video. This is of how some journalists are using their smartphones to create content. So it's kind of innovative. Some are just media makers who I've kind of followed over the years. I've been in sort of the digital space as well as the video space digitally since about 2006, and then I started working in the news business in 1997 as soon as I graduated from college pretty much. So I'll share more about my background in just a second, but can everybody see the screen as well? Okay. So these are just some examples, like 1.5 minutes of different mobile video makers who've made news over the past few years.
My name's Steve Garfield, and I'm broadcasting video from this cell phone live.
Fire investigators are going through this house in the 4700 block of 40th. Once you have an iPhone, even an earlier model, you have all that you need to be a radio reporter.
This device is quickly becoming a tool that is changing the way people work.
Hi, I'm Rich Murphy, Senior Web Producer at MyFox DC here in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to show you how easy it is to actually send us live pictures from your smartphone that we can use on television.
There's this website called Quick. So here's Quick, Q-I-K, can you see it? Yep. So when I press that, it brings it onto a camera. It's connecting to the network. And the camera's ready, so when I hit this button stream, we're going to be streaming live to the internet.
You have the ability to go out and get the information. You have the ability to go out and get the audio. You have the ability to get pictures. You have the ability to get video.
Once you have the Ustream Broadcaster app loaded, you open it up. You'll have to create an account if you don't already have one. If you already have one, when you click live, it usually will, you can tell it to save your password. Once it does that, you'll see your camera. Essentially, all you need to do is click the Go Live button, and right now you're broadcasting to your Ustream page.
We felt it would be appropriate to do this report live tonight through the iPhone because this device, along with other cell phones, are quickly changing the way people do things. Like us reporters, we are so used to using these big trucks to do live shots. And for some local software developers, the iPhone is becoming a digital goldmine.
So I'm walking down the street and they're like, that's Duncan Hunter. And I'm like, what's happening? He's rushing over to CNN because he was excluded from the ABC and Fox debate. So I'm like, can I broadcast you live? And they're like, oh, well, you have to talk to the coordinator and everything. I'm like, no, not with any huge cameras or anything, with this, right now. And she's like, oh, okay, go ahead and talk to him. I just walked up with this, and I says, hey, can you tell me, what are you going to announce?
So what did you just announce to the world?
Yeah. Oh, we just told them that the CNN or Fox and ABC blanked us out of the last two debates, as you know. And they've been asking me when I'm going to get out of the race and when I'm going to quit, and my answer is I'm not.
No way.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Thank you. Duncan Hunter just announced to the world that he is not going to quit, and now he's on his way to CNN. But who got him first? Steve Garfield, reporting live from New Hampshire.
So, you know, some of those are kind of recent examples. Some of them, I think that example goes back to 2008. So this is kind of new technology when you look in the big history of the media, but there are folks who have been experimenting with this, you know, for a few years now, including myself. So I think it's very revolutionary. I think that those who are able to adapt mobile phone technology to what they're doing on a day-to-day basis are definitely on the cutting edge. And I think these phones continue to get higher in quality and you know, easier to use. That they'll have more and more applications for professional, semi-professional, and for communication uses. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to just jump in there, raise your hand, because I hopefully will have an answer for you. And if not, I promise you I will find it for you. All right, so what I'm going to cover in this presentation is how mobile devices are changing video production. Obviously, you've seen some examples. And we'll talk about some of the apps as well as some of the equipment, and I'll share some examples of videos that I've created using my mobile device. And then I do have a giveaway. I'm using this is actually a iPhone Lavalier microphone that's connected directly to my iPhone to record the audio from this presentation. And so my friends at Rode they're going to give me 2 mics to give away. So if you guys want to give me your business cards, we'll do a little drawing at the end. And I will have to mail you the mics because they haven't shown up yet. But I promise you I will mail them to whoever's the winner. Very cool microphone, though. And I think it works for Android as well.
Can you give us the information about how to get them for those of us who aren't so...
Yeah, and so I actually have a mobile guide also that I think there's a small enough group I'll hand out. Hopefully I have enough for everyone. And it's by Rode, R-O-D-E. It's called the Smart Lav, S-M-A-R-T-L-A-V. But I'll share some information about it if you're looking for it. Definitely. All right, so I'm going to put this, I had to put this disclaimer before I gave this presentation because there are some folks that think that, oh, since this is a smartphone, you can do like film production with it and it's so much easier. And it is easier to make a video with a smartphone. It's easier for me, it's easier for a lot of folks. But you still have to learn some basics about video production and some basics about visual storytelling. So though, you know, your smartphone is still a great way to create videos, and there are some easy ways to share your videos online. You can upload your videos directly to the internet from your phone. You still need to know about lighting, basic composition, and some of those things that they teach in school and that professionals use, because that's just going to enhance the quality. So though you can create a film. There's actually a filmmaker named Luis Mess, I believe. He's out of Spain, and he creates these awesome films with his smartphone, but he has help doing them. He has a lot of post-production that he does. So just understand that you can do it, but you also need to put in the time or else have supporting staff that can help you. It's Louis, okay, so I'll make sure I get it to you. I think it's Louis Mess, I believe is his last name, M-E-S-S, yeah. And his YouTube channel is the Mess Filmmakers, M-E-S-S Filmmakers, yeah. His films are can be a little bit violent. So I was going to show an example of it, but I didn't feel like it was the right crowd. So just that disclaimer as well. But they're amazing. They're very creative. When you look at them, it's like he really did that on an iPhone. He's an award-winning iPhone filmmaker. And just a few years ago, he was an amateur. He didn't know anything about video production at all. And just like 2 or 3 years, he's creating amazing videos now and films using his smartphone. So a little bit about me. My name, like I said, I'm Amani Channel. I've worked in video production for most of my professional career. So believe it or not, it's close to 20 years now. I'm actually from East Palo Alto, California. So I was raised just about an hour away from Monterey. I grew up watching my city get covered on the news all the time because of the violence and because of a lot of the bad decisions that young people my age were making. Definitely, you know, the crack era affected a lot of people when I was growing up. And I was able to stay out of trouble. I went away and started studying broadcasting in community college at the College of San Mateo, and then moved all the way across the country to Florida, where I got my undergrad degree. And then I worked at a TV station in D.C., Florida, where I started working as a reporter, and now I live in Atlanta. And so, you know, I worked in the news business for about 10 years, but the most inspiring story that I ever told wasn't with a broadcast crew, wasn't broadcast on the news. It was a story that happened to me personally in 2006. And my wife and I became pregnant with twins just around New Year's. And you know, me being the video geek that I am, I grabbed my little cheap camcorders, like a mini DV camcorder. So I was recording all the doctor's visits, and I was recording myself driving to work and everything. I was so excited and recording everything. And my wife was really getting on her nerves too. And so what happened was, at about 20 weeks, we took a trip up to New York, and she had some complications. We think she had like a mini stroke or something, and she was hospitalized. They discharged her from the hospital. We flew back to Tampa, and she delivered our boys at 20 weeks on April 19th, 2006. And 20 weeks is that's halfway through full term. So they were just too small. They were alive, but they lived for about an hour, and it was really devastating for me and my wife, as you can imagine. And I really pray that no one has to go through that experience. And we've learned that a lot of people have had similar experiences just through our story. So what we did was, a year after it was their anniversary of the boy's birth, and we were like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So the March of Dimes, March for Babies, was around the same time. And so we started fundraising. And what I did was, I took the 3 hours of video that I had, and I created a 10-minute, just a little documentary, posted it to YouTube. About 2,000 people have watched it. But it's not that. It's not how many people have watched it. It's just the impact that we've been able to make through sharing our story. And we've been able to raise thousands and thousands of dollars for the March of Dimes, which is a charity that's near and dear to our hearts. We've been able to touch people. People are like, wow, we didn't know that you went through that experience. We had something similar happen to us. Your story really inspired us. And so that really, the light bulb went off, right? Because I was like, well, this isn't even a really professional, I'm a professional, but I really wasn't shooting it with the idea that I would share it. And so it just really opened my eyes to the power of independent media and the power of independent storytelling, and the fact that everyone has a story to share, and you never know who you're going to touch with your story, right? And we all have a ministry. We all have a testimony that we can share with people. And so, since that time, I've really been focused in teaching people how to tell stories through video, because I think it's so important for us to all share our individual stories, and I feel like everyone really has an important story to share. So I just want to share that with you, just to say that I've done a lot with video. I've produced hundreds of stories, but really the most important story is the personal one that happened to my wife and I. And so I just wanted to share that with you, just so you can kind of know a little bit more about me and where I'm coming from. Because people ask me, well, why are you teaching people how to use smartphones when you're a professional and you're undercutting the market? And I'm like, well, people who want to create smartphone videos, they may not necessarily have the budget to produce a full-out video, right? I mean, when I'm producing videos in my home studio for my YouTube channel, I can't even afford to hire a professional crew, and I'm a professional. So maybe there are others who want to use the same tools to do the same thing. All right, so I just told you the story. I was going to tell you the story, but that was the story that I just told you. So we'll skip past that slide. All right, so this is a headline that really caught my attention. It was a few months ago, but you can see it there. It says, the Chicago Sun-Times axes all staff photographers and offers reporters iPhoneography training. So, even, if I'm talking to why are you teaching this? Well, because this is where the industry is going now, right? There are professional news organizations now that are equipping their reporters to use their smartphones to help them tell stories and to use them to capture images. And there are more and more examples of news, especially online outlets, that are using their smartphones now. And so I really feel like this is where everything is going, and this is why I'm so focused on teaching this information. And obviously some of you are interested in learning it as well, so that's why I'm here. Do you have any questions so far? I know I really haven't gotten anything, but does anyone have any questions yet? Okay. All right, so why would you use a smartphone to tell stories? I already asked some of you what you're interested in learning, and this is you don't have to answer this question because I have my own answer. And my answer is because you can. Because these are very powerful tools now. I mean, these are little computers, right? I mean, they do everything. You can listen to music, you can send messages. I mean, when I worked in news, I had a two-way pager, right, that I carried. And when there was breaking news, I'd be on my two-way pager, checking my two-way pager. Well, smartphones have made a lot of devices obsolete. And now many of you can shoot high-definition video. When I worked in news, we were shooting on beta tape, the big cameras. And when I started, there was a transition where people thought, oh, you got to bring the big camera to work with clients because they'll think the big camera's what'll make you look professional. Now the cameras are just getting smaller and smaller, DSLR cameras. So the technology continues to get smaller, and the quality just continues to increase. So I say that if you can do it, if you can take advantage and leverage the technology to tell a story, then use the technology to tell a story. All right, so you've already shared what kind of stories you'd like to tell. Are there any other ideas that you have now as I've sort of started talking about this technology, what kind of stories you'd like to tell, or how you'd like to learn about using mobile devices. Any other ideas out there? I just want to make sure I have a good idea as I move forward in this presentation. Yes?
You'll be doing short documentaries on stories of refugees.
Okay, so you can use your smartphone to do documentaries. There are some limitations that I'll talk about a little bit later. Aside from just the fact that you need to make sure you're just like the lenses are a little bit limited, so you can't really zoom in with your smartphones. Also the memory. So I have a 16 GB iPhone. I'll get into this a little bit later, but it only has about 5 free gigs of information at any time. Like I have to go through after I shoot a video and take a bunch of pictures. I have to dump my video,
No music, no pictures.
and then I have to clear my memory off my phone. You can come in. So yeah, you just have to watch the memory on your phone because I used to get like a 32 gig iPhone if you're going to use an iPhone. Android devices you can get like a SD card or micro SD card to expand the memory, but not iPhones. They're pretty much set. So that's the main limitation. You can certainly shoot like documentaries, but once again, it comes down to using the production techniques and having people who know how to use a camera. That's what it's going to come down to.
If you're using iPhone and iPad, will you see any difference between them?
So yeah, there's a couple things. So the iPads shoot 720, so they don't shoot like iPhones will shoot 1080, so the quality is a little bit less on the iPad. But once again, one of the main things that I always urge students to do and people that I talk to is make sure you're using a tripod with your smartphone, with your iPad. There's actually and I'm going to get into this more during my next presentation, but there's something called the Padcaster, which I couldn't bring along with me because I just didn't have room in my luggage. But there's a device that allows you to mount your iPad to a tripod. And so you want to use a tripod if ever you're shooting video with an iPad, iPad mini, or with a smartphone. That's what I encourage people to do. Yep.
The Padcaster has the ability to attach other things to it, so a light or whatever.
Yeah, you can attach a light, you can attach a mic, like a shotgun mic, you can attach, there's like a cold shoe. What's that? There's something called, what's the thing that, who asked me about? Yeah, who asked me about that in here, about the swivel. The swivel does that. And Chip does all my partner, he has the swivel, he uses that. And he uses the swivel just as a tripod mount for his iPhone too. So you can, it'll actually, like a little device that'll follow your movement. So if I was giving this presentation recording with my iPhone, it will kind of follow me as I'm talking. So there's tons of devices for mobile phones and video production nowadays. All right, so now what I'm going to show is iPhone case study. So you were asking about documentaries. So this is like a news story, but you can sort of apply it to a short documentary. You all remember the Trayvon Martin story that happened over the summer, or well, it actually happened longer than that, but the case came to trial over the summer. There was a 17-year-old in Florida who was walking home with Skittles and a bag of iced tea, and a neighbor who was over-vigilant, or whatever the reason was, he killed the 17-year-old. And it just caused controversy, uproar, and the guy who killed the 17-year-old, he was acquitted or not found guilty. And so there were rallies all over the country and protests. And there was one in Atlanta, and this was actually right before the other conference that I spoke at. And I was like, well, I'm going to be talking about mobile journalism, so let me, walk the walk, talk my walk, and whatever it goes. And so I grabbed my smartphone, I had a microphone, basically all the equipment is in this bag. So if any of you know about video production, it's hard to pack all the equipment in a bag this small. It was a rainy day, so it was miserable conditions. I had my little runner bag, and I had my iPhone, a couple mics, and I went out to the community, and I created this story. And I shot the interviews, I shot the B-roll, I voiced it all with my iPhone, I edited it with my iPhone, and uploaded it to YouTube. So this is an example of the story that I shot, and this will kind of give you an example of what you can create. It's not perfect, but it'll give you a good example.
What do we want? Justice! And when do we want it? Now!
The brief downpour didn't deter thousands who rallied in downtown Atlanta to show support for Trayvon Martin and his family. Everyone with a reason for showing solidarity for the slain 17-year-old.
I came out for everybody that's worked for us before this and for everybody that's worked now for us.
For me, as a parent of 3 children, I certainly could sympathize with the Martin family.
I do have a brother, and he's a little bit older than Trayvon Martin, so that's why it's so important that we're out here today rallying together.
The peaceful demonstration happened in the shadows of the Martin Luther King Jr. Federal Building. The people here said this situation shows that the struggle for justice is far from over.
It is important to understand that we are still subject to being scrutinized unjustly scrutinized.
Fulton County Commission Chair John Eves hopes this brings attention on other community issues.
It was a great show of unity, and I think that a message should be heard by a larger community in terms of racial profiling, some of the injustices within the criminal justice system.
They say it means not only rallying and praying, but working together to create the change they are seeking. Amani Channel reporting. All right, so like I said, I did that all with my iPhone. The video was a little bit shaky because I was holding my phone and had the microphone, and it was, you know, you kind of have to focus on the screen. It's hard, you know, if any of you have shot video, if you're watching with your eyes, you know it's easy to drift off. So it's not perfect. It wasn't, you know, a little bit of shake. Some of the shots were a little bit out of focus, but you know, it just shows you an example of what you can create with your smartphone if you just apply some of the proper techniques to it. Any questions?
Comments?
Yes.
On the quality, YouTube has brought our expectations down, so it's good enough. You know, we're used to that. Thanks to the engineers at YouTube, you know, if we're on a slow connection, they'll give us even worse.
They'll optimize it,
they'll optimize it, but which really makes it worse. So.
Yeah, and it's you know, I don't know if it's better or worse for professionals like myself, because, you know, I'll talk to different clients and people are like, well, I could just, you know, put it on YouTube, and they think that the quality has to be lower, or that they don't need to apply professional techniques to it just because, you know, because of YouTube, really, because it's on the web. But I'm of the idea that you got to do it like a professional. If you're going to take the time to shoot video, produce a video, I mean, it's not an easy process. If any of you have been involved in a video production, the last thing you want to do is shoot an interview, shoot some footage, and there's not audio. I mean, I've done it before where I've recorded something and there's no audio, or you shot something, you're like, no, I wish I would have held that shot just a second longer, or something like that. So I say that, you know, the more you can just apply some professional techniques, it's just going to help you out at the end. Especially because video, you know, it doesn't make itself. You know, people think, oh, it's so easy. Just whip out your camera and, no, I wish it was that easy. So, but you're right. YouTube has lowered our expectations. All right, so I'm going to share some mobile gear with you now. So I shot that with my, this is what I used to create that package. So I shot that on my iPhone 4S, so it's not even, you know, they come out with a new iPhone every year. So this is a kind of dated model now, right? It's not the latest and greatest, but shoots 1080p, it shoots okay image. I used a application called Filmic Pro. So Filmic Pro is an application that if you download it costs about $5, but it's a very robust application. You can adjust the frame rates, you can white balance, you can zoom in and out, you can change the quality, so you can shoot in 1080p, 720p, you can change the quality of the video that you shoot. You can even chroma key. I haven't tried to chroma key with Filmic Pro. And the other thing that I really like about it is that if you plug in a headphone to your iPhone when you're recording, you can actually monitor the audio live. So it gives you that ability to check the audio as you're recording. And if any of you have produced a video, the last thing you want to do is guess that you're actually capturing audio, because there are times when, you know, I might think that I'm plugged in, but because it has this case on it, it might not even be all the way, the microphone might not even be all the way plugged in. And so I always urge people to check audio. You know, if you think you're recording it, at least if you're not monitoring the audio live, you know, push play, plug in your headphones or listen to it just to make sure you have audio. So that's why I love Filmic Pro.
iPhone 4S and higher, the image stabilization that they've added into that is amazing.
Yeah, it continues to get better.
It really has improved the quality that you can get.
Yeah, and so even if you watch that package that I created, there was still, you could still see that hand jitter a little bit, but
not like it used to be.
Exactly. And like I said, they'll just continue to improve as, I mean, what do they say? The phones get faster, the technology gets faster every 12 months or something like that. So they'll just continue to get better and better as we move forward. Okay, so this is what else I use. I use a connection called a Trrs audio adapter, which I will show you what that is right now. This is my mobile bag of tricks. So this is the audio adapter that I purchased. This costs about $28 from kvconnection.com, and you'll see that there's this pink part of the cable where you plug in the mic, and there's this green part where you plug in your headphones. So like I said, when you're recording, you can actually plug in headphones, and it's sort of like a professional camera where you can listen to it live if you're using that Filmic Pro app. And I actually used a professional microphone when I did it, so you guys are going to get a sneak peek of my next part of my presentation, because I figure if I'm going to talk about it, I might as well show it anyways. All right, so this is the microphone that I used, and you say, well, how did you get the microphone into this Well, I just used a XLR to mini jack, so I kind of have to get the equipment, so I use this particular cable, I believe. Let's see here if it's in here. I think I might have just used this one. So this is actually it's kind of the same thing, but it goes from XLR to mini. So I think this is the one that I actually used when I did the package. So that's basically what I use. So that's how I did my interviews. That's how I captured my audio. There's just a number of microphones that you can purchase. I have this microphone. I have a bunch of mics that I've just collected over my travels of doing mobile video. And you can capture high quality audio with a traditional microphone. You can even use do I have another microphone too. It's probably in another part of the bag, but oh, this one. So this is affordable, like $30 microphone from Radio Shack, and it's just a condenser lavalier microphone. And you know, it's a mono microphone, but once again, by using this cable, you're able to connect this to your smartphone and capture quality audio. Now you may be wondering, why just can't I plug in the 1/8 connector into my smartphone directly? And that's because if you look at your earbuds, they will have like the 3 rings on them. And so this jack has the same, it has one for the microphone, one for the left and right, and then I think one is a ground. So you need to make sure that whatever you're using has the 3 rings before you connect it to your mobile device to capture a high quality audio. Any other questions? All right, cool. All right, so I used that microphone that I just showed you, the Electro Voice 635A, which is a pretty standard broadcast field microphone. And I recorded the audio actually the next day, so I didn't track it like the same day, but I used another handheld microphone that I used to record my narration. And I edited it with the iMovie mobile application. So there's an application that I have on my smartphone made by Apple. It's called iMovie. And I just sort of had to lose my way and kind of figure out how to use it. But, you know, when there's a will, there's a way. And so I laid my video down, then I recorded my voice narration, kind of trimmed the video to kind of make it match, and it all worked out at the end of the day. So that's how I made that package. All right, so I want to share some of the other examples. I know I showed some at the beginning of this presentation of mobile video that's made news over the years. So we're going to go back to 2007, which seems like it was a decade ago. And you all probably remember the Virginia Tech massacre, where there was a student who had his Nokia smartphone. And he was the only person to capture any sounds of the gunshots in any video. It was very poorly captured, but there weren't any news cameras there, and they didn't capture anything. So that was really a seminal moment for you know, I guess citizen journalism is what people call it, though a lot of times it's just a citizen who captures something that happens to be newsworthy and they're not really journalists, but that's another conversation. 2008, Steve Garfield scooped CNN. So in that intro montage, you saw that sequence of that guy who had his smartphone and he interviewed Duncan Hunter when he was on his way to talk to CNN. And that was in 2008, so it really wasn't that recent, but Steve Garfield was kind of known as the godfather of vlogging, so he's been on the cutting edge of experimenting with mobile video and video production, web video, etc. And just by being at the right place at the right time, he had the app and he knew how to use it, and he scooped CNN, and I'm sure that he didn't reach halfway as many people as saw the interview on CNN anyways, but it's just the fact that he was able to use the technology at that moment and capture that moment ahead of the network. And then you all probably remember in 2009, the Hudson River plane crash. This wasn't a video, but it was a picture that someone captured on with a ferry that was going out to rescue the people. And that person captured the first image of the rescue or of the plane in the Hudson River when it crashed. And so that was another kind of seminal moment where the person used Twitter to share that newsworthy image, and they used their smartphone to do so. And then there was the iPhone live shot that I showed in 2009. So there's a reporter who used his iPhone and the technology. Now, I will say that a lot of these mobile apps aren't necessarily made for broadcast or professional applications, but there are those who are experimenting with the technology. So you kind of have to, okay, there's an app, how can I apply it? There's an app, okay, how might I be able to use it? Some of it is, there's some experimentation that's involved with figuring out how you can leverage the technology to use it for your own needs. And then there was a radio reporter in 2010. His name is Neil Augenstein. If you guys get on Twitter, how many of you guys are on Twitter? A few? There's a hashtag called #iPhone Reporting, and Neil Augenstein is one of the original iPhone reporters. And he's a radio reporter, and he's been using his iPhone exclusively since about 2010 to do all of his field reports, all of his interviews. He just uses his iPhone to do. He's just figured out how to use his iPhone. And even in the news industry, there's very slow adoption of the mobile technology, because I think people are just so used to doing things the way they do them. But he's just an example of how you can use your iPhone to get your job done. And then there was the radio station in DC that used the Ustream and encouraged the community to use that application to share live reports. And there's many current examples. So there's various newspapers nowadays that are using their mobile devices. And I did a panel. I did a similar presentation just on Saturday with local Atlanta journalists. And there was an AJC reporter, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He says, man, we're starting to use our iPhones now to do interviews. So it's definitely starting to catch on now. So I don't see why any kind of communicator should be looking, because video, there's really no better way to show and tell an experience or to share information. I mean, you can send an email, but sometimes emails people might lose the exact message sometimes in emails, right? So sometimes you might not even be taking a tone with the person, but how many times have you sent an email and someone might get the wrong impression because of the email just because, they might think you're getting snarky with them, or you might, people just receive messages differently than when we say them. And so there's nothing more effective than a video. You can see it, you can share it, you can talk through the information, you can touch people through video. So I feel like it's one of the best ways we can share our message or get information out there. All right, so before you go mobile, like I said, you do need to learn about some of the basic best practices of how to use your phone, how to use the equipment. So you have to know your technical needs, of course. So this just goes back to video production 101. So, a lot of times if you hire a professional, they'll come in and say, well, is the person speaking from a podium or are they walking around? And so why are they asking that question? Well, because maybe they can use a stick mic or maybe they use a lavalier mic. So you have to know what the situation will require and what kind of equipment you'll need. I have a tripod in this bag. I also have a monopod. I have a little hand grip. So depending upon what I'm shooting or what I'm capturing, I may use the different equipment. So it's important to know your technical needs before you get into mobile or any video really. And then you have to know how the apps work and how you can apply them to what you're doing. So that's just very important because, like I said, some of these apps aren't made specifically to do some of the things they're used for, but you can apply them to what you're doing. And then this is more for the journalists, but you have to understand multimedia storytelling. So, some outlets may just want a quick soundbite or two. Some outlets may want a whole package. So you have to know how you're going to use the video that you're capturing. So maybe you just want to do a quick little talking head video. So you don't need to go and shoot a whole bunch of B-roll in the office if you're just going to shoot a talking head video, right? You just need to shoot the message, maybe trim the in and the outs, and then share the video, upload it, or transfer it to your hard drive, whatever you want to do. So just know kind of the workflow, which kind of gets in the next point, which is develop a workflow. And so you'll hear video producers and editors talk about workflow all the time. And what that means is just having an efficient way to produce a video. So knowing how you're going to capture it, how you're going to edit it, what app you're going to use, what if you're going to edit on your laptop, your mobile device, just having a fast way to crank out the video. So that's what the workflow is. And then I say practice. So if you're gonna do it, you just have to practice, because I don't want to see practice makes perfect, but practice makes proficient with video production. There's rarely a time when I'm working on a video where I feel like it's a perfect video. There's always a tweak you can make to the video, change a soundbite, change a shot, but you just have to get to a place where you're comfortable with it. If a client's happy, I'm happy. So just have to remember that. Any questions? I must be doing a good job. All right, so I'm gonna. So, I think a good way to do that is just to practice, make home videos with your family. Family videos might be a good way to do it. So, I make a variety of videos. So I use my smartphone to, I've shot videos, used my smartphone to shoot my kid playing his soccer games and his t-ball games, and when he's opening Christmas presents. So that just might be a good way if you just really want to practice. Watch your framing, watch your shot composition, make sure you're holding that camera as still as possible if you're not using a tripod, and then you can go to work and say, hey, I want to try making a video with you, and then you can test it out. And another thing that I did even before, so I have a website called Web Video Chefs, but before we started creating our videos for the site, I shot a bunch of pilot, we call them video production recipes. So what I did was, I shot a bunch of my kitchen just to see, because I was thinking, okay, Web Video Chefs, people are going to think it's a cooking site anyways, which they still do. But I shot a bunch of my video tutorials in the kitchen, like to pilot them, just to see how it would look. And I ended up using none of them, but I shot a bunch of pilots to see what the look would look like. So that's another thing you could do, just tell people you're trying out or testing out the shot or testing out the look, and that might be a good way too, without freaking people out.
Well, it's not about freaking them out. They're ready to overcommit me.
Oh, right. And so,
ready for them to do that.
Yeah. So yeah, you gotta wait till you're ready for the big times. Yes.
What's a good resource for apps? How do you know what's good?
For apps, you kind of just have to. Yeah, I have some apps listed. Actually, I could hand this out now. I hope I have enough copies. So this will get you started with apps. This is just a little mobile guide that I created. It's also, you can download a digital copy off of our website. Yeah, I think I have enough. If I don't, you can just go to our website and download it. And you'll also get a free course. See, I'll just take one and just pass them out and see how far they stretch. But there's some apps listed there. You kind of just have to do your research, though. You kind of just have to, like the iPhone reporting hashtag is a good place to, some of the other broadcasts and iPhonographers will share apps. Just randomly, me and Chip share. We just find a link and share it with each other. You kind of just have to get looped in and just keep your eyes open for apps. There's really not a central place for that information.
There's an app called Apps Gone Free.
Yeah.
And they don't cover just media stuff, but oftentimes they'll highlight quality stuff. Like Filmic Pro, I found it through that.
Yeah.
When it was offered for a trial thing for free.
Oh, really? I wish I would.
It's called Apps Gone Free.
There's a couple of free app sources sites.
They curate free apps. And they'll give you like 5 or 6 apps a day, and it's games. It's all kinds of different things.
Yeah, yeah.
But I find audio and video stuff through there every once in a while.
Yeah, we have a good list of apps. That guide has a few of them, and I'm trying to think. Do we have a central? We don't really have a. Oh, good. So there's enough for the next class too. I think you just have to keep your eyes open, though. Keep your ears and eyes open, and ask folks that like myself or Chip, what do you use for this or that? There's an application called YouTube might be a good place, so you could go to YouTube and search for like good video apps or apps for filmmaking. That's probably the best place to search. There are some good YouTube channels that are pretty high quality that share that kind of information. So that's probably, I think that's the best place to start. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, so I'll. Yes. That's called the Smoothie. That actually has been discontinued, but that's basically a Steadicam that was made for the iPhone. So it's like it's basically a way to smooth out the shot, like you can do moving shots, and it's kind of a way it's a stabilizer. But the company that made it actually has discontinued it. So I just found that out after I made this guide. So it's not listed in any of the equipment, but I just like the picture, so I used it. So these are some apps in here that, and I'll go over some of these, but iMovie is a good one for the iPhone if you just want to do some basic editing. And Apple just updated iMovie, so there's a 2.0 version that is very excellent. There's some great transitions. It's really easy to use, and that's for the iPhone or any iOS device. Pinnacle is good for the iPad, so it's another editor. I still prefer iMovie. Chip has dabbled with Pinnacle a little bit. But we both like iMovie the best. There's a professional editor too called Vadio that's more for like news gathering. So it's more for doing like a news package where you do the, one audio track and there's video on top of it, that sort of thing. It's a little more challenging. It's a little not as robust. And then there's Filmic Pro. And then you'll see there's some other mobile apps. Some of these are available also for Android. So Snapseed is a great app for photo editing. Like if you want to color correct or just change the brightness, I use Snapseed all of the time. Instagram is good for like short little 15-second kind of videos. Vine as well. Vine is really short though. It's like 6 seconds. So how can you tell a story in 6 seconds? Some people are doing it. Videolicious. So this is a great app to make a free 1-minute video, but you can like take a series of photos. So what I could do is I could like snap a bunch of photos like in the room. I think up to 10 or 12, and then I can record a message. And as I'm recording my message, I can actually choose which photos appear. And it's a really quick way to make 1-minute video messages using your smartphone. I love Videolicious. It's a really easy app to make really quick videos. The Rode Record app, so that's what I'm using now to record, but it's a great audio recording. So if you want to record voice memos, Rode, and they make a free version as well as a premium version. And then for live streaming, you can use Quick. So I know someone asked about live streaming. You can use Quick to live stream, and it's free. And then you can also use Ustream to live stream with your mobile phone.
Does Quick have the ads that Ustream has?
I don't think so. It doesn't have, I don't know how they monetize it, but they don't have ads on Quick. Like the same as like with the free Ustream account you're asking. Yeah, they don't from what I remember. QIK. Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's I think all those, and there's one more that's on this list that's on this this slide. It's called Capture. So YouTube makes a application called Capture, which basically allows you to sequence separate video clips, but it'll place them all in a timeline, so it'll kind of edit the video as you go along. The thing with Capture is that you have to hold your finger on the button to record. So let's say I hit record, I recorded 10 seconds here, then I switched over here, hit record, then it's just going to stream those clips together, but it's really hard to self-record. So you have to kind of look at the screen and kind of make sure you're hitting the right screen if you want to do any sort of selfie kind of videos. So that's the only challenge. So if you have someone who you're working with they could record you on camera, but it's hard to do a selfie video of yourself using Capture. But it'll upload it to YouTube really quickly. It's a great way just to produce like a down and dirty video with multiple video clips. All right, so how many of you are on Android? Because I know we were talking a lot about iPhone. Anybody on Android? Nobody's on Android? Wow. All right, so if you have someone who asks you about Android, you tell them that Android phones and devices are good for video. They shoot excellent video, amazing video, but they're a little bit more app challenged. So the thing with Android devices is that all of them come with different specs. They're different, grades of the memory is different. The processing speeds are different for Android phones. So the apps don't run universally on all Android phones. Thus, there isn't really a good universal editing app for the Android. You can trim the ins and the outs and do some basic editing with it, but it just really isn't good for video, for editing with the app with video. But you can always shoot your Android video and then edit it on a laptop or on a computer. So you can always do that. So that's something that I do all the time. I might shoot a video with my iPhone and then I'll transfer it to Final Cut Pro 10 and then I'll just edit it on my laptop just like I would do with a regular video. So that's always an option. But there's no Android users, so that doesn't really pertain to you. But if anyone asks, that's the answer. All right, so, the fundamentals of video production, as cool as the gadgets look and as cool as the tools are, it really all comes down to storytelling, right? So it all comes down to what's the story. And, I'm sure, how many of you have kids? All right, so what are some elements of a good story? What are the 3 elements that are in every story?
Anything my granddaughter's in.
My kid loves superheroes. He's all into the... All right, so every story has a beginning, right? So the beginning is the intro. It sets up the story once upon a time in a land far, far away, whatever it may be. All right? Then once the beginning is done, and this is for films too, you get into the middle or the main body of the story, what the conflict is, what the situation is. And that usually leads, if you're talking about film, it leads to some sort of climax where there's some sort of crucial situation that's happening towards the end of the film. And that leads to a resolution or the end. And it can be a call to action, it can be a conclusion, it can be whatever the end is of the story. So those are basically all elements to a story, right? A beginning, middle, and end. And if you can have a story in there, you have some conflict, some emotion, it can engage people, right? So those are basically the elements of a story. So whenever you're creating a message, you want to think about how can you weave a story in there. So at the beginning, when I was sort of sharing a little bit about my background, I shared a story with you, right, to sort of explain who I am. And so anytime you can incorporate a story into your communications, it can help engage your audience. And you always have to think with your audience in mind, right? So it's always important to tell a story. When I worked in news, it was always, what makes good news? Stories make good news. And sometimes the story is a lot of times about crime and violence or about conflict or about scandal, but that seems to be what the news audience likes to watch, so that's what they tell. So you need some gear. All right, so I'm gonna demonstrate this more in depth for the next part of the presentation, but for those of you who aren't gonna come back, you need a tripod adapter. So you may be wondering, how do I connect my iPhone or smartphone to a tripod? Well, you get this little $12 gizmo gadget. I know some people ask me, are you gonna be showing off gadgets? And this is a $12, it's a universal tripod adapter. So who has an iPhone they wanna let me hold on to for just half a second? All right, you gotta volunteer here. All right, so this works really easy. You just activate your phone and you make sure your camera, I like to put the camera on the top of you can do it either way because it'll orient itself, but you just slide this in like this. And look what I have in this bag. I have a tripod. All right. And so every tripod will have a quick release plate, which is this little doodad here. And you just screw this into the bottom here. Sometimes these give me trouble screwing them in, so we'll see if I can do it in one take. If I don't hold it against me. So you just screw that in there like this. Make sure it's nice and snug. All right, and then you just, with one hand, spread the legs out. This is a little table tripod that I picked up somewhere along my media travels. And then you are able to connect your phone like that, all right? And it's as easy as that, all right? So that's, like I said, $12 on Amazon. I believe that is in the guide. And so, it's just a nice way to shoot nice, still steady shots. Because what I say about videography or digital photography or when you're shooting video images is you want your video to look like a still image. You want to be well framed or well composed, thank you. Just like a still image, right? So you don't want a lot of shake, you don't want a lot of wobble, and the tripod's gonna make it a no-brainer to do that, right? So put it on a tripod. What I do is I tell people to frame up your shot, lock it down so it doesn't move, and just hit record and record your message.
And the leaning it up against something, just, it's very difficult.
You can do that though, right? And so you can sort of try to, people say, well, if you don't use a tripod, hold your elbows into your body. And but,
Get halfway through and it just slides down.
yeah. But that is a tip that I've read and I've heard, but I just like to don't leave it up to chance. So I like to use a tripod. And there's other tripod adapters too. I will demonstrate this one in my next presentation, but this is called the Focus. And it's kind of like the Padcaster for iPhones, but it has the thread here. You can slide your iPhone in. This is for iPhone 4s, but they make them for the 5 as well. Slide your iPhone in there, and then it even comes with a couple of lenses. So you can, it's like a wide-angle lens and that sort of thing. So I'm going to show a video tutorial in my next session that really shows you how to use that and capture nice pictures with that. So it just depends. So I had a little mini documentary on my neighborhood, and it was called The Shades of Fall. It's just like a mini movie, and I used it comes with a macro lens, so you're able to get really close-up shots. So if you're using your native iPhone camera, there's only a certain distance where you can get really in focus at a close distance. And so I took some really close-up pictures of leaves because I really wanted to show the texture of the leaves, and it worked well for that. And so it just, I used the wide-angle lens if you just want a wider field of view than the regular iPhone camera. And there's actually telephoto lens, which will bring the image in a little bit. It's not really it won't make it super close, but it just works a little bit. It's a basic telephoto lens.
You don't have quite enough width.
Exactly.
And this is wide angle, but not
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, the wide angle gets really wide. I like the wide angle. It's probably my favorite lens that I use the most with it. And then I showed you the audio and mic adapter, and there's a bunch of different ones that you can get. You can get one like this. You can get one like this, and there are microphones that come with the same kind of cable. So you definitely need that, though, if you want to capture quality audio. And I like to say, because some people are like, well, I don't really need to use a microphone for my web videos. And I'm like, well, you want to be seen and heard, right? And people I have a friend of mine who didn't use a microphone when she first started getting into video, and then she started using a microphone. She's like, Amani, I will never create a video without a microphone ever again, because you can hear the difference. It just doesn't sound as hollow. Even if it's a quiet room like this, if someone was recording in the back of the room, me being mic'd versus the camera that's in the back of the room recording the ambient sound, it's just going to sound better. This is going to sound better. It just will. And then I showed you the Focus, so you can use other stability mounts. There's the Padcaster for the iPads. There's also something called the Makiyama movie mount, which is for iPads. There's also for the iPad mini, it is called the Iographer. So they're pretty much for any mobile device. Androids aren't as many, but definitely for iPads, iPad minis, and iPhones. We're all iPhone users, so I'm with a good crowd today. There's definitely different mounts that you can get for your iPhone or iOS device. And then microphones, there's just a variety of mics that you can get, a variety of gadgets. I didn't show you, let's see, I didn't show you this one. So this is a cool one. This is called the Irig. It's a preamp that allows you to connect to XLR microphone. And what's cool about this one is you can actually adjust the audio levels. It has a little audio boost. If you're using like a condenser mic, you don't need to use a battery with it. It'll just have a little fountain power built in. Then it has this little volume wheel, so you can actually adjust the volume of the gain using this. And you plug this in your iPhone, you plug this in your XLR microphone, and you can plug your headphones in here. So it kind of works the same as the other cables. But there's just, like I said, there are plenty of gadgets, doodads, and I mean, people are buying this stuff, so people are making it, right? I mean, it's where everything's going. So there's plenty of different gadgets and devices that you can purchase for your mobile devices as you're looking to gear up. And then you need lights. Anytime you're shooting, you need lights. That's regardless of an iPhone or otherwise. If you're indoors especially, you need to use a light. It's just going to, your eyes need light to see. Cameras need light to see even more. So that's basically what you need just to get started. Any questions? All right. Moving right on. Yeah, so that is a basic kicker light. So that.
I actually just ordered that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it comes with all sorts of different options for putting in a variety of batteries. So you can use like 6 different types of batteries, something like that.
Yeah, I got that one from.
Lasts longer. Which batteries last longer?
Like chargeable versus regular batteries, or.
There's different formats of batteries.
I would think anything like most of the production guys I work with just use AA should be fine. That particular lamp, I got it from a video friend of mine. And that would work well with like if you're using like the Padcaster or it would just plug into this shoe here. So it's just a mountable kind of light that you would use. And any light is better than no light, just like any mic is better than no mic, right? So that's just my word of advice for that.
How long with the AA batteries, how long is that light going to last me? Is it going to last me 5 minutes or 5 hours?
No, it should last, I would say it should last about at least 5 hours. You should get some good time out of it. And if you're using like rechargeable batteries, the thing about rechargeable batteries sometimes is they'll work until they're dead. And once they're dead, they're just going to go flat on you. So that's the other thing you have to just sort of watch if you're using NiCad batteries. So I know this is kind of jumping around, but the one thing that's important is you have to make people care. You want people to watch your message. So sometimes you have to make your message resonate to your audience. So that even applies to video. So how are some ways you can do that? Well, you have to first of all know your audience, right? Know what information they need or want to hear. So if I'm talking to a group of executives, my video presentation might be a little different. When I talk to journalists, my presentation might be a little bit different. You have to, emotion always helps. So anytime you can put some emotion into your message, that can help keep people engaged. Adversity. So people like to hear like stories where someone might go through a little bit of adversity and then maybe some triumph. So you want to give people a little roller coaster, right, when you're sharing a story with them. And then triumph, right? So I was watching a video this morning about a woman who weighed like 300 pounds. She was talking about how her self-esteem was low, so she wanted this 100-day challenge to lose weight. And by the end of it, she had lost like 18 pounds. She was feeling positive about herself. And it made me feel good, right? It makes you feel good when you hear stories about people who've overcome adversity or who are doing better. So just like I shared the story at the beginning, I mean, as tragic as it was for my family to lose our twins, we have a 5-year-old who's jumping off the furniture and trying to Ninja Turtle me all day long. So, stories that you can end on a high note it's always a good way to make people feel good or relate to you. And goodwill also goes along with that. So, stories of charity, stories of that sort of thing. And that would probably be good for you all, because I'm sure your different ministries are involved in different kind of activities that maybe spread goodwill or different messages that may be related to that kind of stuff. So, hopefully that helps. All right, so now I'm going to share, this is just I know it's kind of blown out because the monitor, but it really doesn't look that bad. It's probably just the projector. But this is a little video that I created in my home studio. I'm using my iPhone. I just had a couple lights set up. It looks terrible, but I promise you on YouTube it does not look that bad. But I just want to show you the kind of videos. I know some of you mentioned you just want to record short little videos. And I actually shot and edited this all on my iPhone using the iMovie app. I'm on channel webvideochefs.com, and I want to thank you so much because hopefully you watched the 3-part course to help you start producing mobile videos. If you haven't, please go ahead and download my e-guide and get the course now, because this video that I'm about to show you is actually a short documentary. It's like about a minute long. It's a mini movie really that I shot with my iPhone. All right, so I always like to use professional equipment. So there's something called the Focus that you can use with your iPhone. It's a tripod mounting device that comes with some lens accessories. So one day I was in my neighborhood and I was like, wow, I haven't really created a fall video. The leaves are changing color. They're mostly falling off the trees now. But about a week ago at the time of this recording, I decided to go out in my neighborhood and shoot the wonderful colors with my iPhone and see about the quality, see what kind of video I could produce. So, video production is all about the story. And so there are a couple of shots that I just want to explain. You always want to start with a nice wide shot to sort of establish the setting or the scene, which is what you'll see. And then I shot a variety of close-ups, medium shots. I used a macro lens to get some really nice tight shots. And like I said, it only runs a minute, but the story I'm trying to tell, of course, is just the beauty of autumn. And so take a look at it. This is just one example of the kind of stories you can create with your iPhone. This really isn't to help you market. This is more just capturing beauty and nature as it is. So take a look. So what did you think about my first attempt at a movie on my iPhone? You can tell me if you thought it sucked. All right, I thought it was pretty good. I was pretty impressed by the quality of the images. You know, it's HD video, it's a cell phone, but still, it's amazing stuff. It's amazing the kind of stories that you can tell. So of course, this is more of a beauty nature kind of story, but remember, a story is about a beginning, middle, and end. You also have to edit it in a way that makes sense. So you have to sequence your shots. And you know, you can even edit using your mobile device. So I edited this whole thing using the iMovie app. iMovie just came out with a new version. It's 2.0. And it's very powerful, has some very professional features, some new transitions, some new fonts, and you should just add it to your list of mobile equipment if you're looking to really get started and create some quality videos with your mobile device. All right, but if you have any questions, you can always ask us at ask@webvideochefs.com. I mean, that's, like I said, that's another example. And you know, just me talking to the camera pretty much, talking head video. I know some of you mentioned those are the kind of videos you want to record, and so you know, it's very doable. The music is actually built into my iPhone, actually. It was just a music track that was in my phone, believe it or not. So if I were to open up iMovie and choose a couple of music tracks, there's like 4 or 5 different music tracks that are in the program, in the application. And then also you can transfer, if you have other music you want to add, you can transfer video from your computer via iTunes and get other music tracks in your iPhone that way.
Make sure you use royalty-free.
Yes. Exactly. Well, the thing is, if you're a nonprofit too, is your church nonprofit status, I would imagine?
Yes, we all use the same nonprofit.
Yeah, I would assume that, like, there's a website called, I can't remember now, but if I get your cards, I'll send the information out. But there's a website that both Chip and I use that they will charge you for using it for secular use, but if you're a nonprofit, they don't really bother with you too much. So. What's that?
CLI licenses. Yeah, I don't think those can be used for video. I think they may have some for video because they now have.
It doesn't cover you for royalties though for music beds.
Yeah, you got to watch the music. You want to use royalty-free music, I'd say. And I have a couple of different libraries that I have. Yes. Yeah, and I have a couple students, just from the years of teaching, I have a couple students who I have relationships with. I was, hey, can you send me a couple music tracks? And be like, okay, sure, Professor Channel. So another thing you can do is like go to websites like SoundCloud, and you can build relationships with different producers and reach out to them and see if they'll let you use their music tracks for that kind of stuff. So
Free Play Music?
That's the one, Free Play Music.
Yeah.
Yep.
For a project, and because I was putting it on YouTube, no other use, I got it for free.
Yeah. Yeah, so Free Play Music, and they have some good music tracks on Free Play Music.
Really.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, so you have to go into you have to plug your mobile device into your computer via the USB, open up iTunes, and then you have to go into the app, and then it'll show you like the files that are on your phone, and then you're able to drag and drop your files onto your phone using iTunes. So you're able to move files that way. But like I said, there's already built-in music tracks when you download the program. I think, or they were already on my phone, one or the other. I didn't know they were there till I upgraded to iMovie. So yeah. Yeah. All right, so I know I've been babbling for a while here. We're getting close to the end, I promise. So just want to share some basic video production best practices. This is what I tell my students. This is what I tell anyone who's really looking to get involved with video. You'll always want to plan. You never want to leave too much up for chance when you're creating a video. I would imagine if you're creating a message, you want to make sure that it's scripted out. There's actually a teleprompter you can get for your iPad. There's an iPad prompter called the Pad Prompter. And you may want to script it out specifically and set up the pad prompter and record your video message that way, just to make sure if you have something really specific, or if you want to make sure people stay on message. Sometimes you get people in front of the camera, they get nervous, they get babbling. Like I've been kind of doing this for a while, so it comes kind of natural for me. But if they're not really comfortable speaking on camera, you may want to either script the message out for them, let them speak to the talking points, or use a teleprompter, which there's some pros and cons about using a teleprompter too, because sometimes people will sound like they're reading because they are reading from a prompter. And so it takes work. Like you watch the newscasters and they sound like they're just talking to you. Well, they're reading from a a glass reflector that has this copy going through it, but they're professional readers. So it sounds like they're just talking to you, but it takes practice. So if you are going to use a teleprompter or some kind of prompter, just, you have to make sure you warm up your talent, make sure they're really comfortable speaking to the talking points instead of reading them. And then you want to plan your shots, create a small script, maybe a shot sheet of shots that you need to capture if you are doing something like a documentary, something like that. You want to know what gear is needed. So I know I've showed you a few little doodads here, but there's a variety of gear. Just continue to research, learn about the gear that's out there. You can ask us a question at any time. Just learn what you need for your specific shoot. And if you are going to a location, it's always a good idea to do a site survey. So you want to check out the space maybe a day before the shoot. If ever you're doing like a live stream and you're not sure about the speed of the internet, you want to go and test everything the day before, because with video production, believe me, anything that can go wrong will go wrong with the video. It looks easy, and when it comes out right, it's a beautiful thing, but when it goes wrong, it will leave you sweating and feeling really frustrated and like, ah. So, it's always good to check out the situation before you get into it. Like I said, I have an outliner script, and I think that was it for that. All right. So just a few more tips. Use a tripod, use lights. I've already kind of touched on these things. I just want to sort of wrap up some of the things we've talked about. Use a mic or else watch your audio. So if you're like just using your native iPhone recorder or your mic, you have to make sure the person's at least standing close enough, not at a distance, because, the further you get away, the worse it's going to sound. So just watch your audio. Shoot still, but we all know that shooting still is kind of challenging. So you want to make sure you're using a tripod. Use the rule of thirds, and you don't really want to overshoot. So that's why it's good to write a shot sheet, because the last thing you want to do is shoot an hour of video when you only need 30 minutes of video. So you kind of have to know what shots you need to get before you even start shooting. That way you're not having to go through, or you have a bunch of shots you have to choose from. So that's why it's always good to kind of plan out your shots ahead of time. Just kind of know what you need to capture before you start to capturing it. If you just need to capture somebody talking on camera, just capture that and go with it.
I got a question.
Yes.
For my specific example, where I think it would be cool to broadcast live our church service, it's got to be on a small scale because the church is not going to, whatever. So then we have like a big praise band with, we've got 2 electric guitars.
Do you guys use a mixer? Is all the audio going in the mixer?
Can you plug the mix in?
Yes. So your short answer is you'd want to get to stream that out. You just want to get a line out from your mixer into your computer. So use the headphone or mic in. Use the mic in and take the line into your computer. And then to get the video out, there's a little breakout box that's made by Black Magic. And so you guys have a camera in your church? You don't have a camera? Okay, so you want to invest in some kind of camcorder. Maybe not the...
That's what I'm saying. I want to live stream.
Right.
This.
So...
I want the mix and the audio.
So, what's the best way? Yes, I'm just thinking the best workflow for that. Let me talk to Chip and sort of think that through a little bit, because I know it can be done. You can use like Quick or Ustream to do that. I haven't personally tried to do like a long format kind of event. And you're not recording it, right? You just want to send the video out and then archive it. The website will archive it. Because Chip's done a lot with live streaming, so he could probably help us kind of talk you through that. So just make sure I have your information. I could try to come up with a solution or a workflow for that. Yep. Let me see. I think we're close to the end, folks. What else? Okay, so you edit to a script, of course. Use your best takes and best shots, obviously, right? So when I shot that little neighborhood documentary, The Shades of Fall, there were some shots that I didn't use. There were a few shots that I didn't really like, but I used the shots that I thought were the best for telling the story. Also with editing, you want to make sure your shots are probably no longer than 5 to 6 seconds. Generally, your eye starts to get a little bored with a shot after about really 4 seconds, I found. So shots should be anywhere between 3 and 5, 6 seconds is really getting kind of lengthy, unless there's some sort of dialogue or something that really gets a point across in a great way. It's really compelling. There's a see cow, say cow rule. So I know I'm kind of just glossing over this stuff, but there's a rule in news that you only show things that you say. So if you don't have video of something, you don't say it. It's the see cow, say cow. So you say things that only you can see. Does that make sense? So like if you're doing a narration, you just make sure that you're talking to your video when you do a narration. So just a little tip there. Watch the length. So make sure the length of your video is appropriate to your message. So don't say something in 10 minutes that you can say in 2 minutes. You got to watch that sometimes, because people will, especially, my generation, we're actually, kids are younger than me, actually, because I'm not that young. You know, everyone has short attention spans now thanks to the internet. That's the bottom line. So phones don't work well in low light. The lens is kind of shaky. There's, you know, the zoom doesn't really work well. You know, the shake is kind of strong if you're not using a tripod. I've already gone over some of this stuff. Limited memory in your iPhones, I talked about that as well. And I think, okay, so this is important stuff. So I saved the best for last. Always do this. Always shoot in airplane mode. Always record your audio in airplane mode. If the one thing you want to do, I don't care how you're holding your phone. If you're not shooting in airplane mode, like right now, I'm recording this presentation, but I put my phone in airplane mode. If someone were to send me a text or someone were to call me, which has happened before, it's going to stop the record. It's going to interrupt the recording. So that's why you always want to shoot in airplane mode, because you just don't want anything to interrupt. Your phone will, by default, it's going to interrupt your recording. So always shoot in airplane mode. Yeah. Oh, and yeah, iPhones, doing video will kill your battery really quickly, especially for running apps. Hold your phone horizontally. So we talked about that already. Shoot with two hands. It's kind of redundant. All right, so I asked this question, but you might not know your challenges until you actually get out there and start playing with the technology. So you can always reach out to us. There's other professionals online who are kind of specialized in mobile video production. Me or Chip will be more than happy to help you out. I need to collect your business cards so we can figure out who's going to win the microphone. And then I think, unless you guys have other questions, why don't you can drop it in there and pass it back. Oh, I don't know. Want to just put a piece of paper? I know, right?
If we don't have business cards, we can put in credit cards.
Yeah, why don't you just you just take a piece of paper, I guess you guys don't have. Oh, okay. Only if I get to keep your smartphones. If you drop your smartphone, there you go. Exactly.
If you can throw one back. There's a red one in there.
I would close my eyes. Samantha Young. All right. Cool. Cool. So I will mail you your Smart Lob as soon as they get it to me. And it works well with the Rode Rec app. There's an app by Rode called the Rode Rec app. It works good with that. Like I said, you can record voice memos, presentations. It works pretty well for all that stuff. Let me see what else do I have for you. So if you want to learn more, there's a website called iPhonereporting.com, which is actually run by the journalist out of DC, the radio reporter. But he has a lot of great tips. You can also follow the iPhone reporting hashtag. And then you already have my free mobile guide, but we also have a 3-part course that's for free. If you want to go to our website, you can sign up for that. And we also have a learning center that we just launched on our website. So we have a couple different courses that we're just getting going. And so we have a few courses if you'd like to get more in-depth. Some of the stuff I've kind of covered, but it delves a little bit deeper into the information because it's hard to share 20 years of experience. Yes? It doesn't. Oh, I missed it. All right, it's just 3 of them. That one. Okay. You're welcome. And so I was just saying, our Learning Center, we just started creating courses there, but we have some pretty affordably priced courses if you want to get a little deeper into the information. It's hard to share 20 years of experience in an hour and a half, but I do appreciate your attention. And my next session, I'm going to get a little deeper into the mobile gear, so I'm going to show you more specific hands-on examples of how to use the gear. And I also have a bunch of video tutorials that I've created, which I'll show, which will get a little bit deeper into that if you guys want to learn, get a little bit more in depth. And I'll show some editing examples as well. And if you ever want to reach out to me, there's my contact information. And I thank you all for your undivided attention. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.